Morning everyone and welcome to day 2 of the Autism and Neurodiversity Workplace Masterclass for the sports industry with myself, Ben Holmes, and ex-professional footballer John O'Kane. Sorry John, go on. It's in there.
Right.
So yesterday we looked at what autism is, what neurodiversity is, explained a little bit about John, John's background and myself as well. So we're going to dive into it a bit more deeper today. So let's get going. Next slide, please. I've got my sunglasses on just because I want to. It is sunny, to be fair. I am. It's sort of shining through, so I'll let myself off with that one. John disagrees with me, but there we go. Could be anywhere. Could be in Spain. We'll say I'm in Spain. We'll say that. So yeah, we're live on Facebook. You might be catching it on the repeat. I'm sounding American now. Repeat. I don't know why I said repeat. Also, it'll be available on YouTube. So if that flashing's bothering you, it may bother some of you viewing. Yes, it'll be on YouTube as well. So hello if you're watching on there. Next slide. So we're just going to look at some of the key points from the first day. You'll sort of looked at why you're here. So I just want to reiterate this very quickly. So you're here to support your neurodiverse employees and customers and those with mental health issues as well. And if you can do that correctly, that has a knock-on effect, which is basically improving employee well-being. So if you've got happy employees, they're being supported, accepted, understood, generally they'll sort of work harder, they'll be more productive, be happy doing what they're doing, and then if they're happy, they're working hard, etc., it's going to impact your income as well, which obviously you'll want that as well. Whatever industry you're in, there is money involved at some levels. I mean, even if you're coaching, Sunday league team, you still need money to pay for kits and stuff and whatnot. So yeah, there's money involved everywhere. So the next sort of thing we looked at was supporting your neurodiverse customers, and again, customers with mental health issues. So if in the sports industry, it could be sports agent, it could be clients. There's lots of different roles in the sports industry. If you're supporting your clients, your customers more, and they're more likely want to speak to you and deal with you, sort of use your services, which of course makes them buy from you or recommend you or use your service, however you word that. So again, it's the income side as well as that. So you've got happier players, happier clients, coaches, managers, directors, kids, adults. It all sort of helps if they are neurodiverse and they're being understood. Next slide. So a few of the key points from day 1. We looked at how much it costs to hire a new employee, and how much it costs to replace an employee as well. So some of the figures we looked at, just put it into perspective. Every business is different. We've got big and small. We've got a big spectrum there. But in the UK, it can cost an average £3,000 to recruit, training over £1,000, and numerous other costs as well. Again, these figures will fluctuate, but just the point we're making is it costs money to get rid of people, to replace them, to bring new ones in. Go the next bit as well, please, for how much it costs to replace an employee. So in the UK, the average cost of employee turnover, based on the average salary, is around £11,000 per person. That can be a lot higher in some cases. And then just a few facts on autism and employment. So again, these figures will fluctuate depending on where you're getting them from. So only around 22% of autistic people are in paid work, and about between 14 to 16% of them in full-time work, which I think are shocking numbers. And again, I just want to reiterate this and highlight it. There's a lot of autistic people who want to work but are not in work because they're not supported in work or even getting an interview in the first place. And then some, that they're leaving or people are firing them, getting rid of them, when a few adjustments could have been made and it would save your company money. If you just knew a bit more about neurodiversity and could support them better, so it'd save you money. Just before I move on, is there anything you want to add on that, John?
No, just the figures there are shocking, aren't they, really? You think about it. Is it just the people who are on the spectrum just not confident enough to go out and get get that job? I don't know. Or is it the employers who just who see different traits in people and just think, nah, we can't deal with that? Do you know what I mean? I don't know, but it's quite low, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, yeah, both of them. They all have a knock-on effect on each other. So some autistic people, they'll have a bad experience with an employer. They'll not be treated right, so they'll think, well, I'm not going to apply for any more jobs because that's what happened last time. Which is really bad. Some employers will, like you say, the traits, if they're not given the correct eye contact or they're not deemed socially acceptable or whatever, then some of them will not give them the job. So yeah, there's lots of reasons for missing out, and a lot of them could be altered and adjusted. That's the worst thing about it. So yeah, I mean, particularly in the sports industry, I mean, you'll know better than me. It's still not split. There are some clubs who are doing well with it, but there are many that won't be, just from that lack of understanding.
When I was playing, you didn't really, I noticed, a few players with tics and stuff, and they had their own crazy sort of characteristics, that I spotted.
Yeah.
But it wasn't well known that people. I knew nothing about the autistic spectrum, I knew nothing about it back in the 80s and 90s. I'd probably not even heard of the word, to be honest. Honestly, I'd never even heard of the word. So it was usually you just see disabled people or disadvantaged people or, vulnerable in a wheelchair, aren't they? That was the norm, weren't it? Or, but back then, especially in football and sport, I didn't see many people who were, I don't want to say like me, but it was hard to spot, to be honest. Like I say, people who are on the spectrum who don't want to be in that environment where it's like quite busy and stuff. So probably understand why people aren't, going into that job environment because it's just too crowded or the noise, that kind of thing. It's not set up from the lighting, and it could be anything sensory. Do you know what I mean? So it could be anything like that. But yeah, them statistics are very low. I'm shocked at that, actually.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, it's when you played. Yeah. I mean, when I were doing sports coach as well, I wasn't aware I was autistic then, so I just thought any struggles I had were my own fault, sort of thing, or whatever. So
yeah, I just focused on myself.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about anybody else. I was just dealing with my own stuff in my head. Obviously I was physically fit and everything. I was fine. I could converse fine. We just obviously, we have different things going on in our brains. It's different to other people. That's what people don't see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think I'd just like to point out as well, because I don't want to feel like I'm shaming employers, because if you don't know about it, then obviously it's hard to support someone. If you don't know what it is, and like you say,
like I said, they all they see if you're classed as disability, you literally can't walk or in a wheelchair sort of thing. I think that's how the general sort of population that back in the day, that's how they see it. But if you've got like a mental illness or something, it wasn't like brought up. You just get on with it. Go take a pill, you'll be okay, and that was it. There was no guidance. you look at the coaches I had, like Eric Harrison, Nobby Styles, Archie Knox, them kind of characters. They don't suffer fools, and you don't see there's no weakness there. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, look, they obviously care for the players, but they don't care for the mental side. They didn't really care. You just had to be mentally strong to perform for them. That was it. That's all you felt. You weren't there really helped if you were like a bit vulnerable, but I felt anyway. But not that I've seeked it out anyway. I told you before, I didn't really seek it out. I was a strong character anyway, but I didn't really seek it out myself. But people would have known that something wasn't right. But
Yeah, definitely.
obviously it's changed now, hasn't it? There's steps being took now, so there's people you can talk to, especially in a club environment now. So any kind of vulnerability, it's highlighted and you give them proper treatment now.
Yeah, definitely. It's got a lot better than what it was. Obviously, still a long way to go with it, but it's moving in the right direction. And I say it's not an easy thing if it's going on in your head. It's unless you tell people, it's hard for others to realise that, I suppose, unless they can spot some of the signs if they're sort of aware of it. But yeah. Right, next slide, please. So we're going to start with, going to start with job applications and applying for the roles. So many autistic individuals are not applying for jobs, even if they want the actual job. I used to do this myself. There's various reasons for not applying. One of the big reasons for me and a lot of autistic people is due to the application forms themselves. There's various reasons put us off for that. Covering letters, and some struggle with the CV, not knowing what to write on that. So I'm just going to look at some of the issues with that. So with the application forms, covering letters, CVs. Next bit, please. So this is a massive one. Application forms being long-winded. No, I don't really know anyone that wants to spend hours writing an application form, but it can be especially hard for neurodiverse people. I'll throw in ADHD. Well, for any neurodiverse, dyslexia can be really hard for them. ADHD, but we'll focus on autism for the time being. So yeah, for autistic people, it can be getting asked questions that you don't understand, or getting asked questions you don't know why you're being asked it, or you don't know what answers you're supposed to give. Duplicating information is really frustrating. So where you've got to fill in your name and address, fill in the same things over and over. And if you're filling in multiple application forms in a day, then it gets very tiring. A lot of job adverts don't read very well. Obviously some do, but a lot don't. This can confuse people, which can put them off actually applying. They may dislike the wording if it's incorrect, which could put them off as well. Certain phrases that may be used which they don't like, which may put them off. Next bit, please. So some of the general phrases you'll see on application forms. Phrases like exceptional verbal and written communication skills. Does every single job need this? Obviously you'd like it, but if not, why put it in? So it's meant to be a put, not an out. Autistic people can take things literally. So if it says written communication skills, but you're not really doing anything written, or you're not really having to talk much in a role, if it's sort of a home-based role, sort of admin, where you're not talking. So if you see my flickering on my camera, I'll turn it off if it carries on. So yeah, there's lots of things to sort of put you off. Just before I move on, John, is there anything you want to add on this particular bit?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Next slide, please. Next bit, sorry, I've done it again. Including fancy wording or general phrases not relevant to the role. So again, similar to above, it could put them off. A lot of the problem I've found myself in the past and speaking to others is we may think we're not qualified to do the role. So I'm going to turn the camera for a minute or two. We may think we're not qualified to actually do the role, even if we are. So that's a big thing, because it might say you need to be exceptional X, Y, or Z, and they might take it literally and think, well, I'm okay at doing such and such, but I'm not exceptional. I'm not like world class at it. I'm just okay at it, so I'll not apply for that. Next bit, please. Unless you want to add anything, John.
No.
So, next bit, please. So, complex forms. If there are boxes included, asking relevant questions, asking for information they don't understand, they'll probably just leave it. So just a few things I would say to employers. So ask yourself, do all these questions need to actually be included? Are you just padding it out just so it looks professional? Do these questions need to be in there? Could you provide more guidance over what is required? Can you provide any tips or hints as to what sort of things you might be wanting? And I know you don't want to give the answers away as such, but if there's anything you can provide the guidance. What questions could you remove? The questions in there you don't need. If it's an application form, do you need their full working history and qualifications? If they can just have it on the CV, if they've already got a CV with that information on. So do you actually need that? So that can lead into the next bit. So as I've just touched on earlier, duplication. So many employers have application forms that ask for information that is on the CV. So if you've got your CV, let's say you might have your work history, education, a few other bits, does that need to be duplicated? Why is it needed? And then as an employer, do you really want to spend hours reading through someone's CV and application form for duplicate information? Next bit, please. Not understanding what is required of them. For example, if they're applying for a data analyst role, it's home-based, where they're basically just sending reports via email, but the application form says excellent oral communication skills. They may be unsure what to say. Interpersonal skills, this is one that confuses people sometimes. What does this mean exactly in terms of what the company is wanting? Next bit, please. So, covering letters or cover letters, many jobs don't state whether they need one or not. Could you be clear on whether you want one or not? Obviously, many employers do say, please send a covering letter, or just send your CV or whatever. So some employers do cover that, but not all. Next bit. What are they expected to write on a covering letter? I know there's templates out there, there's examples and tips, general ones, so there's information out there, so I get that. Is there a social element included in this? Don't know. They may not understand that side of it. Could you tell them what type of things to include? If you're asking for a cover letter, for example, could you say how long it needs to be, roughly? what they don't need to put in there. Because some might then just write an essay. They might write 5 pages on a cover letter because they don't know what's meant to be included. So they might want to think, well, I don't want to miss this out. I want to cover everything. Some might just put a brief cover letter, just saying, I don't know, I've attached my application, my CV, whatever. Thanks, kind regards, whatever. So then you might read that and think, well, that's rubbish because it's only got a couple of lines on. But if they don't know what to put, they can sort of struggle with that. Is there anything you want to add with that bit, John?
Yeah, like I told you before, when I was doing the MVQ, there's a lot of repeating myself just over and over. Especially me individually, I just got sick of it and I just refused to do it in the end. Just too much monotonous sort of over and over again the same stuff, which isn't needed. I don't think it's one I don't think it's for laziness. Sorry, but it was just repeating ourselves. I don't know if it's something in me. I just couldn't compute that. I had to keep writing it over and over again, the same thing. It's like, oh my god, it just stressed me out completely. So I flatlined, said I'm not doing it, and that was it. So
yeah, it's a nightmare. Yeah, it's so frustrating. So frustrating. Next bit, please. So yeah, I've just touched on this. How long should it be? Could you give them guidance on that? The covering letter. Next bit. And just with any of it really, but with cover letters, we're talking about how much of this goes towards whether they get interviewed or not. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, do you assess just the application, and the covering letter, the CV? Everyone asks for different things, so it's which bits do you actually read? Do you read all of it? I don't know. Next bit. So as I've said, if they include too much, will that put you off? If they send 5 pages, are you just going to not look at it? If they send a couple of lines, is that going to be discounted? I mean, a lot of people sort of instinctively know, or again, a Google search, you can look, to be fair, how much to put in there. But then that doesn't necessarily mean it's right for the particular business. So some businesses may want different ones to others. Sorry, go on, John.
On most of my CVs, when I was working in schools, I had no qualifications. They definitely don't check because I said I had qualifications. I'm being honest, Now I had no qualifications, but I said I had some, so they definitely don't check them anyway. Do you know what I mean? So they definitely don't. I think they go off a bit of common sense, how you present yourself, But obviously the situation, especially for people like us on the spectrum, the atmosphere, the setting has to be sort of slightly catered, I suppose. Not go overboard, but we need special treatment. But just certain situations, they know like someone's got difficulties in like in an environment, it needs to be catered to. But bottom line, But like I say, all that stuff that is just not needed half the time. They don't even check half the stuff. I think it just goes off how you speak, how you come across, how you handle yourself. Because every job I've got, I've literally got anything that I've gone for, I've got after leaving football. And I've been in over 10. I've lost count how many schools I've been in where I've been in an agency, and I've just gone in and spoke, for who I am, and got the job. I didn't need any qualifications, to be honest. So just proves the point. The environment at the time, it was they give you some tested questions, but lucky I could deal with that. But a lot probably couldn't. But a lot of people will be put off because of what you need to be perceived to be like, all these qualifications, and you've got to tick all these boxes before they even look at you. But half the time it's personality, So
yeah, exactly. Next slide, please. Oh no, I've done it again. I keep missing those bottom bits out. I keep missing the bottom bits out. I keep thinking it's next slide, but there's another bullet point which I forgot needs going in. So yeah, just on the application form, every business is different, so I get that. Do you really need an application form? Can you just put a CV, or if not, a cover letter and CV? I get why some companies do that, because people just throw out the CVs all over the place because it's quick to do. So then you might get people applying for jobs who are not necessarily interested. So I get that process of it. But at the same time, you're going to be losing people if they need all three, because you're just not going to have time to spend a couple of hours on it, or even longer in some cases. Some people spend all day writing a job application, which, when you think about it, is crazy, because they might not even get invited to an interview or anything. So just wasting your time, basically, to put it bluntly. Obviously, to get the job, great. You put in all that work, but they have to make an informed decision. Do I think I actually have a chance of applying for this, of actually getting this job? And if I think no, then there's no point wasting time. Next slide. So CVs, again, you can look on the internet. Whenever I looked in the past, it used to be don't go longer than 2 pages. I don't know if that's changed since then. I don't know. I've never seen anyone that says write like 5 pages. So I get that, and people can Google it and research that. But is there anything you're looking for? I mean, if you don't need certain things on the CV, then can it just be 1 pager? I don't know. Can they send the same CV they've sent to other people? There's sort of questions to be asked. Next bit. Could you ask for just a CV but not an application from a cover letter? So I've just mentioned. Could they, if you need more information from them, could they not just have that more information into the CV or as a separate, Word document, instead of filling all these forms and boxes? And if so, could you tell them what to include? Next bit. Could you state, what exactly you need to see? For example, 5-year employment history, qualifications, skills, etc. Do they need to put a bit of a write-up for each job or not? Next bit, please. Is there anything you want to add on those other bits just before I carry on? Okay. So the next bit is waiting to hear if they have an interview or not. This can be very stressful for anyone, for some autistic individuals as well. And again, some of these things, they apply to everyone. Well, not necessarily everyone, but a lot of different. You don't have to be autistic for some of these things. It's I'm not saying it's exclusive to us. There are a lot of neurotypicals who find this stuff frustrating. So please appreciate. Well, first off, I would say please appreciate the job seekers may be applying for dozens of jobs. They may be forced to do so, pressured into it. They may want to do it. They may desperately need a job or want a job. Particularly with autistic people, they don't have the time or energy to spend hours on each application, because there's no guarantee of even hearing back. So if they spend 5 hours on one application and 5 hours on another, and then hear nothing back, it's like, well, I've just wasted 10 hours today doing that for no reason. So it can get really disheartening and frustrating. So please bear that in mind. Next bit. I know it's not easy, particularly if you're a big company who's getting hundreds of applications. But please try to respond to everyone. I think it's manners, really, but it's just, yeah, I don't know why not to do that. Even if it's a generated email, even if it's thanks for your application, we're not taking you on at this time, or whatever it is. Good luck in your future job search, something like that. Even if it's something like that, it just helps. People prefer to get a personal one, but I think a lot of people appreciate you haven't got the time to do that yourselves or the resources generally. So yeah, just even if it's just to generate an email, just to let them know they've not got it. Next bit, please. So could you ask them on the application their preference of contacting them? So, could you put on the application form, or if you haven't got one, just a write-up, please state how you want to be contacted. The reason for that is autistic people, some don't like being on the phone or struggle. If they get a call they don't recognise, they might not answer it because they might cause anxiety, or they might be used to getting a lot of prank calls and thinking, oh, I don't know who this is, I'm not answering it. They might be anxiously waiting by the phone every day to hear back from you. They might be thinking, oh, is such going to ring today? Then if they don't, it might get disheartening. Of course, if you never ring at all or let them know, that can be even worse. So that leads on to, could you tell them when they'll actually hear back from you? You might not be able to give an exact time, I get that, but you could say, you'll hear back from us in about a week, or just some sort of guidance there. Like I said, they may get anxious of an unexpected call. Next bit. I've just sort of skipped ahead here. So they may be anxiously waiting for days, weeks to hear. I mean, it could be a job. They may be really passionate about the role and really, really want to work for you. They may be so excited about it, they may have spent 10 hours preparing, doing all the application stuff, and then they might be waiting every day to hear from you. Now, this is where I suppose autism can come into it in some senses. Not everyone. I mean, I wouldn't do this myself, but I suppose I have in the past to a degree. But you could be waiting for weeks and thinking, are they going to get back in touch with me? And then someone says, no, I don't think they are. You best sort of let it go. But again, if there's no sort of communication there, no warning for them, it doesn't help. They may, some of them may email the company asking for updates, and then if you don't get back to them, then that can make it even worse. Just creates a lot of unnecessary stress, which leads into mental health. It can affect the mental health. Next bit, please. If they do gain an interview, please bear in mind that they may have problems travelling to a venue. The time of the interview may be bad for them. They may have anxiety about the interview in itself. Are there any ways you could help with this? So have a think. If you're watching live or even on the replay, pop in the chat if you think there's any ways you can help with that. So basically, if they're travelling to the venue, they might get anxious about that. They might not know where it is and struggle to get there. The time of the interview might be inappropriate for them, or they might struggle with that. They might just have general anxiety about the whole thing. Is there anything you can help with that? Is there anything you want to add on that, John, before we move on?
No, I'm just thinking it's a bit of a catch-22 really, because if the employer doesn't know that the employee, the potential employee is on the spectrum, are they going to know? Do you know what I mean? If you don't like speak up, say, by the way, I'm on the spectrum, I'm obviously I'm capable of doing this job, but I might need a few things, in the process for me to come. You know what I mean? If you don't speak up, then how are they going to know anyway? So, it's a bit catch-22 really for them. The people that we're trying to reach out to the employers. They're not going to change. I don't know if they're going to change all their system just for someone who might or might not be on the spectrum. If you don't speak up about it, they're not going to know, are they? That's the point, isn't it? Am I getting it wrong there?
No, it's a very valid point. All I will say with that is, it's like with the disability, the physical disability. All I will say with that, like wheelchair. I don't know. Don't know what the rules are with that, but I suppose like every company has to make it wheelchair accessible or make efforts to do that, even if they've not got someone who's in a wheelchair. So it's that similar thing really, to make it accessible for all. So
the noticeable sort of disability, you can sort of think, oh yeah, they're explaining a wheelchair, or cerebral palsy, that kind of thing. You know, that you know, you're struggling to walk, you might need an aid to walk you in, that kind of thing. But for people like me and you who are like, who've got things sort of slightly hidden, you were probably not going to say anything. Where that's stupid. You need to speak up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to just say, look, I've got this disability. Yeah, I'm fine. You know, in our look, how I perceive myself. But there are certain things that I might need an interview just to, you know, you know, that's how I see it. So, but if you don't speak up, then how are they going to know? You know, they're not mind. You know, again, they're not mind readers. You know what I mean? So, looking from the opposite, their side, you know, they're not mind readers. These people who want to employ people. You know, you do have to speak up.
Yeah, no, very valid points. Very valid. It's not, as I was saying yesterday, it's not easy, all this, in terms of, you know, if you don't know someone's autistic or you don't know anything about it, people don't say. It does make it hard, makes it a bit of a minefield for everyone. So, yeah,
Look,
yeah.
When I was at United, people used to think I was on cocaine. You know, because I had different traits. I would say I was slightly hyper, probably anxious, a bit twitchy now and again. You know, people didn't understand. So my nickname was John Cocaine because they thought I was on something all the time, and it sort of got a reputation that I was a bit, you know, a bit out there. A bit of my nickname, you know, if you get my bucket, I'm called the Spaceman because I was different. You know what I mean? So they you know, because they can't see what's going on in the brain, you know, suppose they're not sort of, you know, you're not a mind reader what's going on underneath, sort of thing, you know. But yeah, it's employees, they're looking at face value, aren't they? So if you look normal, I hate saying that word, but if you look sort of normal, you know, they're just going to treat you as everybody else. So you do have to speak up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, all I say on that is yeah, I mean, it's one of those, if you don't say you're autistic, then they're not mind readers. You can't expect them to just know that. Yeah. So that's very valid. Just on, because I know there's a big problem with some autistic people of actually disclosing them being autistic on the application, because that in itself, it's a minefield. If everyone was a nice person, it'd make it easier, but because they're not, it makes it hard. So, like, you know, some people disclose they're autistic, and then the employer will look at that and say, no, I'm not hiring them, not inviting them to an interview. So that's a negative on that side. But then on the employer's side, it's, well, if they don't tell me they're autistic, I can't support them. So I think, to make it easy, all I would say is, and yeah, I know some people don't want to change their whole application process. I do get that, but at the same time, there are some changes they could make. So all we're saying with this is they could put a few footnotes in there. You know, if it's a CV, just put approx 2 pages, for example. Just little guides is what I would say, and then.
Well, even if you are on the spectrum, you can say like to, if anybody's on the spectrum, you know, on the autistic spectrum, whatever, you know, can you cater for what needs you need? Do you know what I mean? Can you highlight what you need? That would definitely help. Then there's like a separate box for people who are on the spectrum.
Yeah.
You can say, right, yeah, tick that. Yes, I've got that. I'm, you know, I'm high functioning, as you say. You know, I can do that and stuff, but I'll need this lighting. I don't want it too light. Do you know what I mean? So there should be a section for us, let's say, so you can say, oh yeah, you know, I'm there. You know, I'm not in a wheelchair. Da, 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 you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So yeah, because I've looked at loads of application forms, and there's nothing. I don't think there's anything like that. I don't think I've noticed. To be honest, that no, sort of, or if there has, I've sort of skipped past it because it just hasn't been relevant to me, sort of thing. But yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I mean, some employers do say if you require reasonable adjustments, which is a step in the right direction. I know from feedback what I spoke to others, they've said, could you take that further? You know, make that process. So instead of saying, do you require reasonable adjustments, say, you know, what reasonable adjustments do you require? Fit into what you've said with that bit you've just said there. So stating what you need. I think with this particular bit, because this is the application process, so the forms, CVs, etc. You know, what we're on about here is on the next stage where you're getting invited to an interview, potentially. So you could put some information in there saying, if you get invited if you get invited to an interview, what adjustments do you need, as you've just said there, but also for the forms itself, I don't know, some sort of guide, just because.
It's like how many people are going to be interviewing you. Some people might not want 4 people staring at them in a room. So can you just do 2 people? That kind of thing, where you've got 4 eyes staring at you. The anxiousness that you'll feel if you don't want people staring at you. That might be one as well. But just little things like that can make you not have a good interview by having 2 people instead of 4 or 5. It's a big difference, isn't it?
Massive, yeah. There's lots of things that employers can do, and obviously the other side of it is it's hard. It's not easy to sort of to know all that. It's something they've got to put time into. Work with autistic people, maybe on actually the process.
Bottom line is though, will they though? That's the point, isn't it? It's like it's easy doing all this and saying it, but have they got it in them to say, can we be bothered to look into this sort of thing? That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Like it just popped into my head the interview. I was thinking the amount of times I've been in a room where there's been 4 or 5 people just staring at me and thinking, do you know what I mean? Delving into like ridiculous scenarios that we take sometimes literal. You know what I mean? Like, what would you do if this pupil wanted to go into a fire? It's like, what are you talking about? Do you know what I mean? Just silly, stupid questions. It's like, what would you do? Well, I'll tell him not to do it. It's like, just like, oh my god. Yeah. I found that a bit weird, like having too many people in a room and trying to interview me anyway, but yeah, that's just me.
No, I'm the same. No, I'm the same, and I know a lot of other autistic people the exact same. Again, it's that uncertainty as well of not knowing what you're supposed to say, not knowing why people are there, and all these other questions. Is there anything you want to add before we move on to the next bit? Okay, and next slide. So the interview process itself. So there are many things an autistic person may struggle with during the interview. Keyword may, obviously we're all different. Next bit, please. So some wouldn't have a problem with this whatsoever, some would, so again it's different. Find an interview venue. I think if you've got, we'll touch on this more in the coming days, but if you've got dyspraxia, this can be a nightmare. I've got this, so I struggle with this one. They may need extra support or instructions on how to find a building or a room within a building. If there's like multiple entrances into the building, they might think, well, I don't know which door to go in. If there's a massive building, once they get in, do they go to reception? Well, most people would say yeah, but some might not instinctively know that. I mean, I'd know to do that, but some wouldn't. If you say like it's on a certain street, but then they might be like, well, I've got to the street, but I can't see the building, I don't know where to go. They may sort of panic and get anxious. This may also include how to get to the building if there's different entry points. I've just said that. Need to that apostrophe thing off the end of the S. My bad. Next bit, please. Interview method. So again, fit into these pre-questions. You can ask adjustments beforehand. If possible, could you ask the interview? Which method? So that's meant to be interviewee, I think. If possible, could you ask them which method is best for them? Some really struggle with phone calls, for example. Some might struggle face to face. Now, obviously, we've got to appreciate the employer's point of view. They might not have the facility to offer phone calls and face to face and Zoom or whatever. So it may be about we interview this set way. It has to be on a phone call. It has to be face to face. So I get the business needs in that sense. If you can't adjust their needs, at least ask yourself, is the interview method actually relevant to the role? For example, if their job doesn't entail being on the phone, but the interview is over the phone, is that right in the sense of, if they're not going to be on the phone in the actual job, but they're being interviewed on the phone and they've not got good phone skills that can make them not want to go to interview, or if they do it, they might not give the best performance as such. So yeah, just some examples there. Next bit, please. Unpredictable interview process. Whilst you can't just give them the job, obviously, there are ways to help them present the best version of themselves. Don't really like that phrase, the best version of themselves, but when you're interviewing, unfortunately, you have to put on a bit of an act which I don't like doing, and a lot of people don't. Some autistic people just can't do it, but that's the way it tends to be as it stands, which I don't agree with. Knowing what sort of questions they may face may help. I've seen a lot of autistic people and companies working in that field, recruiters trying to support autistic people. If they knew the question beforehand, that would help them with anxiety. Now I get the opposite end of that. It's like, well, if we tell them all the questions, then it just make it easy for them. But at the same time, there's that balance between them being too anxious to not be able to answer properly and sort of giving them the job. I think there's a fine line and there's a middle ground with that. Or at least if they know what sort of things they might be asked, it could help. And I know some companies do that. They'll say, you'll be asked to do X, Y, or Z, and they'll give you time to prepare. So some companies do that. If they're going to do a presentation, I've done some interviews in the past where they just turned up and said, right, you're going to do a presentation. You've got 30 minutes to prepare it, and it's never enough time. And then you're thinking it's just not appropriate, I don't think. And I know some employers will want to test them on the spot and see how they deal in a crisis sort of thing. So I get that side of it, depending on what the role is. I get that. But again, it's that balance there. At least if you've got to do a presentation, could you tell them the topic beforehand, before they arrive, so at least can prepare for it? Any bits on that, John?
No, that's fine with it.
Okay, next bit, please. So the interview process. Next bit, please. So when you're going in for the interview, there's a lot of social things attached to this. So you walk in, obviously COVID has changed things, but I'm on about usual interviews, what we were like before, and still after COVID and during COVID, whatever. Shaking hands, I've always been okay with that one, but as I'm doing it, I don't do it. It's like I'm really concentrating on it. I'm like, well, don't do a limp handshake, but don't like break the hand. So it's like that middle ground where you're timing it in your head. It's like you don't want to shake the hands for like 10 minutes, but you don't want to do it for a second. So it's like, right, I'll do a few seconds, shake the hand. Right, I've done that. Look in their eyes as you're doing it. Sort of tick that box off. A lot of autistic people wouldn't be able to do that. They might not shake hands at all. They might not know to do it. So then they might be deemed as a bit antisocial, or they might not even get the job based on that. They could walk into a room, not shake someone's hand, go and sit down, and then the employer's thinking, I'm not going to give them the job. So, and I know that will happen in some places. They may act inappropriate without knowing. I put inappropriate in thingamabobs. Can't think of the right word. Inverted commas. Next bit, please. So eye contact, they may really struggle with that. They may stare too intensely. They may not look at all. Finding the balance with that one. That's a big thing for a lot of autistic people. They really, really struggle with that one. Or even when you think you're doing it right. I've been in places where I thought I've done it right sometimes, and then I thought after, just judging by their reactions, thinking, no, I didn't get that right. But yeah, I felt like I did. But there you go. Next bit, please. Social interaction, may not possess adequate social skills, but may actually be able to do the job, because the job might not entail much social interaction or social skills in that sense. Next bit. Being asked questions on the spot. Again, it's that balance there. You can't sort of give them the job and give them all the answers. But just on that, it could cause massive anxiety. The mind could go blank. Could you give them extra processing time? And if you give them extra processing time, if you're staring at them the whole time while they're trying to process, that doesn't help. So even if it's like, if you want a minute or so to answer that, and then if the interviewer just looks away or writes something down for a bit, or just doesn't stare at them, because that can make it even worse. Next bit, please. Sorry, can you just go back to that? Sorry, my bad. Is there anything you want to add on that bit, John?
Yeah, definitely with the eye contact, that's massive, isn't it? It can be perceived as being ignorant sort of thing, but yeah, I didn't have a problem with that, to be honest. But I definitely got the old blank stuff going on when I was asked a question. Just didn't compute something for some reason. I've been in there loads of times where someone's asked me a question and I just totally blanked out and thought I was thinking about something else. A bit of the Homer bubble going on, like, just completely over the feelings.
Yeah.
And I just thought, shit, I've got to make something up here. Do you know what I mean? What's he just said to me? Just little thing. Yeah, my mind can sort of drift sometimes, lack of concentration, I suppose. But yeah, is that possessing them adequate social skills and saying inappropriate things sometimes? Yeah, that we might deem okay, but obviously the employer might think, what the hell's he just saying there? But yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? It's lots of causes, really. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one, that, isn't it? There's a line, isn't there, where employers think, oh, I can't deal with this. You look at the social skills, but able to do the job. You look at people who are great with computers and stuff, who are probably quite introverted, but can get the job done. Specific times and deadlines to be made. They can just get it like that, can't they? But they might be socially awkward in an interview and might not get the job because of it. But they're more qualified just to get on the work, bang, 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 and it's done, isn't it?
Yeah.
We look into that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just on the space and art sort of thing, I've been in one somewhere I've said, can you repeat the question? But then it's, if you don't get it right the second time, it's like, how many times can you ask them to repeat it? It's sort of, I think 3 is my limit, and even then I feel bad for doing it 3 times. I'm like, well, I just have to give up at that point. But yeah, another thing, I can remember went for an interview. I've been for a few interviews in the past where I thought, I've done really well there, I think I'll probably get that job, and then I hear nothing back from them. I'm like, trying to rack my brain because I answered all the questions. I'm thinking I shook hands correctly. I thought I did the eye contact pretty good, but then judging their reactions after that, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I didn't. Maybe.
So you're overthinking, aren't you? That's a big thing as well.
Yeah.
Overthinking situations. Well, I used to do that a lot, but
yeah,
I had a coping mechanism where I just sort of said, oh, F it, I'm just going to go in and just be myself, and
yeah,
I don't overthink stuff, sort of learn that way. But yeah, lucky for me, I tend to got every job that I went for anyway.
Yeah.
But kind of liked it, but yeah, you're acting in a way. I'm not being myself, do you know what I mean? But it's like a character I was playing, and I just nailed it, and I have to do it every time, you see. So I was used to that. Also, playing a character in football until I sort of, like the book said, I burst the bubble, and I'm myself now. A weight's been lifted as such. But yeah, I was just playing a character in all those interviews, basically. But obviously being myself, but I was sort of playing up to what they wanted to hear, sort of thing. That was it.
Yeah, exactly. Next slide or bit, please. So interview process. So irrelevant interview questions. You touched on this bit earlier. What animal would you be? What animal? What biscuit would you be? That sort of stuff. That can just confuse people, annoy them, frustrate them. Lots of different.
I wouldn't even answer that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I refuse to answer that. It's just ridiculous. But
yeah.
It might be a bit of fun, but I'd probably just say, nah, I don't need to answer that. It's just me, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tip then. Yeah, they just don't answer it. Just say, I'm not answering that one. There you go. Next bit, please. knowing what is expected of them, you know, again, whole social cues, interview skills, etc. Next one. Misinterpretations of questions, I touched on this earlier. Again, could you explain questions in a bit more detail? They may take things very literally. You know, if you ask them what animal would they be, they might spend an hour just thinking, what the hell is that all about? Could just throw them off the entire interview. Next bit. Group interviews. So, a bit similar to what John was saying with having many people interview you. There's the other one where you go into a group interview where you sit on a table with loads of other candidates and you have to all interact, and then you're being watched like an animal in the zoo, like everyone's just observing you, sort of how you interact. I've always found those sort of strange, and it's like you sort of, some autistic people won't have a clue how to deal with that. Others might be overthinking it, like you said. Might be constantly aware of how much they're talking and not talking. So if you get a team activity and you've got it's again nothing to do with the actual job itself. I know it's team building skills or it's looking how you deal with crisis, so I get all that side of it. But it's like, you know, you've got to plan an escape route. I don't know, what's one I've had? You're on a desert island or something and you've got to decide as a team which 3 items you take out of the list of 10 or something. And then you're all debating it and stuff. And you're being watched while you're doing it. So you're thinking, right, I've not said anything in 5 minutes, I best say something. So then you just throw in a random word or pretend like you're sort of interested, or, you know, I don't know, it's just annoying. I had one of those.
Stressed, aren't you? You're just thinking about it, aren't you?
Yeah, I've had a couple of those. It's just, I'm just like, look, I can do this job, but I can't be doing with this, because, and then you've got people wanting to like lead and sort of, you know, take over, then you've got to shut them up a bit, but do it in a nice way.
Yeah, force themselves. Like, so I think I told you yesterday that I tend to sort of sit back and watch people and let them kind of make a fool of themselves in a way. I don't know, I'm a people watcher, so I tend to sit back and just let them get on with it. And then if I feel like I need to add something, I'll do it. You know what I mean? But I won't force myself, I suppose. I'm confident anyway, but yeah, I tend to just sort of sit back and just watch, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've tried that. Tried it. Yeah. We'll move on from that one because it's going to do me head in thinking about it. Next one, please. This is a very long one, the interview process. I didn't realise how much I put into this. Right, how much detail to give? If you ask them a question, this is one, the whole literal thing as well. If you ask some autistic people a question, they may just say yes or no, whereas you're looking for more detail, but if you don't tell them that, they might not know. Now, you're probably similar to me, quite fortunate that you can pick up on that. You know that a bit more detail is needed, but some autistic people would really struggle with that. Or they could do the opposite. I've done it in the past where you just say too much, and then you're like, well, I think I've ticked everything off there, but then they stopped listening 5 minutes ago. So, you know, there's that side of it. Next bit. Unwritten social rules. They may not be aware of these and struggle because of it. Next bit. The candidate asking supposedly inappropriate questions. For me, these are just logical questions you should be knowing, but they're deemed inappropriate, or they used to be in some interviews I've been in the past. I was told, don't ask when your breaks are, don't ask how much the pay is, but surely you should want to know that. It's like, why wouldn't you want to know that? So yeah, I struggle with that one because it's like, well, no, I want to know when my breaks are. Like, it's important to me. You know what I mean? You know, it's important. I shouldn't have to explain that one really, but I know it does go off. Some jobs don't advertise how much you get paid, and that's a big problem at the moment. There's been a lot of talk on that. You know, if you're advertising a job but you don't say how much the pay is, yeah, unless it's a commission only one or something like that, it's a standard, you know, salary job or whatever, just say how much it is. Next bit. And again, let them know if they've got an interview, but let them know if they've got the job. Obviously, you'll let them know if they have got the job, but if they haven't, should I say, if they've been for an interview, you've rejected them, but not even told them, that's not good at all. Again, even if it's a generic one, at least just let them know. Ideally, in the interview, tell them when they'll know about the job. That'd be good if you could. Any bits on that to add?
No. Yeah, I remember being in a school setting when the breaks situation. It was a pro school, and I was in like a isolation room where the naughty kids sort of used to come to me, and I'd have to like look after them for the day, sort of thing. I'd get like 10, 15 kids sometimes in my class that I'd have to look after. Yeah. Sometimes the school was so in demand, I wouldn't get a break, and that would cause. I was just laughing. I was thinking, yeah, I was losing my shit because I wasn't getting a break at a specific time that I normally get a break. Just something. I didn't even think about it, but yeah, it was like at 12 o'clock. That's my break. Why have I not got it? And I was going on the mic going, what? I lost my shit. I was saying, what is going on here? Someone needs to come and cover me because it's my break time. I didn't get it, and I was, yeah, my old day just went out of sync. I didn't even think about me being on the spectrum and like that. But maybe other people, oh, it's fine, it's just a break. But to me, it was like it was the end of the world. It's like, where's my break? And I was proper on it, sort of thing. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like certain things, like the pay thing. Yeah, some jobs don't advertise because it's probably that low. That's the thing. It puts people off, doesn't it? So yeah.
Yeah, can resonate with that. Next bit, please. Onboarding. Next bit, please. So when they've been given the job, are they given the adequate training? They might need extra time to process things, and I get business might say they've only got a week to be ready for the job, and I get you can't give them forever sort of thing. But again, there's that line. Could you allow extra time if they're really struggling? I know you might not have the staff. You might have planned your staff to, training manager to do a certain amount of time. So I get there's things that need to fit in line, but again, the environment. If they're learning with a team and they're surrounded by loads of people, they might not pick things up as quick because they're worried about everything else around them. Next bit. Yeah, I've just basically said that. Give them time to learn, and yeah, they may start slower, and this. Some may pick it up straight away within an hour, and it's like, no, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm fine. So there can be extremes to it. Others might start slow and then fly past the others after, and sort of really do better than everyone else. Next bit. Tell them what the job entails and any other relevant info. Self-explanatory, but I've been in some jobs where I've not been told that. Just been had to get on with it and make it up as you go along, sort of thing. Next bit. They may be anxious about starting, so could you help them through this process? Speak to them, ask them what they need within reason, of course. Yeah, next bit. Was that next slide? No. It may take them time to show off the talents. So leading on to the second bullet point. Any points on that one, John?
No, it's fine, buddy.
Okay, next bit. Next slide even. Or bit, whichever. So managing the employee, if they've done well enough to be employed by you, and if you have as well on your end, so they've applied for the job, they've had the interview, they've passed the interview, and they've actually in the role now, passed the training. There may still be some hurdles to overcome whilst actually in the role. So let's look at some of these. This next bit. So providing clear instructions. So tell them what you want them to do. Don't be vague about it. Give them accurate and honest feedback. But honesty is the best policy, but obviously, like I was saying in one of the calls yesterday, autistic people can be bluntly honest where it can offend people, but it can work the other way. Like if you're saying it to your employee in front of everyone else, oh, you're not doing a very good job, you've not done this, you've not done that. Just bear that in mind. Try and do it when other people aren't around. If you're going to give sort of negative feedback, which really should be constructive feedback. Next bit. Proper training program, just alluded to that earlier. Throwing them straight into the job when they don't know what they're meant to be doing isn't great. Next bit. Now this one, this will seem strange to people who aren't used to autism. Again, it's, a lot of employers will not do this. They'll be like, no, I'm not doing that, and why should I have to do that? It would help if, daft as it sounds, you could explain the social rules to them. This might sound daft. You might be like, well, I'm not doing that. And again, a lot of you won't do that, and but because some might not know. A lot of autistic people, a lot worse off than me in that sense of knowing social rules. They might be like, well, why are we talking about the weather every morning? I don't get why we're doing that. You might, daft as it sounds, you might just say, oh, it's just what people do to engage with each other. Sort of, it's a way of saying hello, that sort of stuff. Why do you have to say? Why? I've been in some jobs where you have to act like you've not seen someone for years, but you see them every day, and it's like, oh, hey, you're right, yeah, I'm alright, yeah. It's like do the same thing every day. It's like, could you explain that maybe to him? You don't have to give him a crash course on it. Just explain just a few little tips if they're struggling. Next bit. Adapting communication. Can you change how you operate to fit their needs? Again, I know a lot of people won't do that because it has to be done in a set way, but again, everyone's different, so only thing I would say with that is if 99% of people were autistic, then the 1% neurotypicals would really struggle because of the opposite then, because you'd be like, oh, I want to talk about the weather, and it's like, no, we're not talking about that. So there you go. If you can adapt slightly to, and it's not like you have to make massive changes, they can end up producing good work for you if you can just make those little changes. Any bits on that, John?
Well, it's fine, but I was taking it myself, to be honest. Yeah.
No worries. Do you want to move on to the next one? Managing the employee still. So next bit. So I keep mentioning anxiety. It's a big thing with a lot of autistic people. This may affect their work in general. Just try and consider what will make them less anxious. You can't remove anxiety completely, more than likely in the job, but you can at least help and alleviate things and do your bit. So there's lots of things you can do to help. Next bit. Routines and structure. Changing plans all the time will not help. Can you let them create their own routines as long as it fits in with the business needs that work for them? Next bit. Letting them know about team meetings or team building days, team bonding days, all that sort of stuff. If you drop it on last minute, this could be really bad for them. They might just say I'm not going, or they might say they're ill or whatever. It's just not good. Do they need to go? Yeah, obviously, I get the whole process behind it. Yeah, it's a tough one because it's like if I don't let him go, then do I need? Can she say she don't want to go even though she's not autistic? It can create a negative knock-on effect, but at the same time, they might be so anxious about doing certain things that it just puts them off wanting to do it. And at the end of the day, if it's not really relevant to the role as such, obviously team meetings is different. But if it's like a team building day, it's not relevant to the job. If you take them to Alton Towers, for example, they might be scared of rides or just hate being around loads of people. So they might be like, I really don't want to go there. Others might be loving it. Might be like, oh, I'm right up for that. So again, there's a scale with that as well. do they need to be involved as much as others? So if they are going on a team building day, do they need to take part in every activity? Is there a way around that? These are just questions I'm posing to you for you to figure out. It depends on your exact environment and scenario. Next bit. Processing information, mentioned this one before, so give them extra time. That's what will help them. Less anything from you, John.
Yeah, just from the environment I worked in, like the school settings and care settings, we had to tell the children, like young adults, sometimes a week before what was going on, just so they can process in their mind the build up to it, to what they've got to do, how they got to behave, sort of more or less like a countdown, you know, and just keep them involved as much as you can, and let them know that, you know, it's going to be fine and what you'll be doing this. So yeah, in the working environment, yeah, different scenario, I suppose, to a school setting or care setting, but still the same. If you've got OCD and stuff, you know, certain things, rituals you need to work out in your head, what you need to do, sort of thing, you know, where you're going, how you're going to get there. That's it. It's all computes in differently to people on the spectrum, doesn't it? Yeah. Might seem trivial to like neurotypical guys who are just like, oh yeah, we're going somewhere, this will be great, last minute, you know, but to us and that, you know, you need to plan stuff, don't you, in your head first. Yeah. You know what it's going to entail. So that's massive. That, to be fair, just the routines. People need to know, especially if you're on the spectrum. You just need to know early what you're doing, sort of thing. Yeah, just little changes in like even if it's like a fire alarm or something. Sometimes you need to be told that. Like I remember we had to tell some of the kids that this alarm's going to go off. You know, this high pitched noise is going to go off today at a specific time. Little things like that. You know. Even in a work setting, that'll happen quite regularly, probably once a week, every couple of weeks maybe. You know, these people need to be told just little things like that. You can set off a chain of reaction the whole day. Your whole week might be destroyed because of that one sound that you've not been told about. Just simple things like that. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just on the fire alarm thing as well. Yeah, I've been in places where it went off once every week or two, and some autistic people really struggle with that for the reasons you've said. There's also the noise, the loud noise that will like not frighten them, sort of alarm them, and that could. I mean, I'm not as bad as some autistic people with this, but some with noises.
Yeah, I was fine.
It hurts them to the point where, like fire alarm, for example, they'd have to have the hands over the head, and it would really. Oh, yeah. It could really cause them having a meltdown. I mean, I looked at the opposite way. I enjoyed fire alarms. It meant I could get out of work for a bit. And
yeah, like half an hour just chilling out and a bit of a laugh outside. That's how I saw it. You know what I mean? But yeah, obviously, you know, it needs to be done because it's a serious thing. But
yeah,
just some of the kids, it was like a traumatic ordeal. So obviously, it's like a countdown. Look, it's going to go off any minute now. Be ready for. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. But yeah. Yeah, same as you. I didn't mind it, to be honest.
Yeah, and again, it's that opposite scales of it. Some it would be the worst thing in the world. Some you look forward to it. I used to look forward to it. To be fair, but yeah, particularly if it was sunny as well. Get a bit of a tan while I'm outside, so it'd be quite handy really. But yeah. Next slide, please. So flexibility. So I touched on this earlier in terms of breaks. Some companies say, you know, everyone goes at dinner at a set time. Some they allocate you a lot of slots. You know, can adaptations be made with that? Well, there can be in some industries. I've been in there where there could have been. Some businesses just say you can have your break when you want, or they say liaise with your colleagues, make sure at least someone's covering. You know, if it's an office or whatever it is, just covering. Now with sort of sports coaching and that, obviously it can be different. You know, it's a different environment, different sort of setup with sports coaching. You know, you can't be in the middle of a football match and, you know, say I just need to go for my break now. Like, it's like 30th minute of a game or something, so I need to go from 10-minute break. So there's you've got to be realistic with it. So I get that. It's just, again, it depends on the role. I think the sports industry is quite different to a lot of the others in that sense. Trying to think of some of the roles where it apply more to. I suppose if in the sports industry, but if you're in an office type of role, then this would fit in there. Because there's lots of different roles you could be doing within sports. You could be doing social media team. You could be, manager of some sort. There's lots of different things. It's not just about professional, athletes and players as such. But yeah, if there can be adaptations, should I say, same word, please look at that. Next bit. Progression opportunities. Can you explain these to him? If the sports coach, there's a head of department role coming up or something like that, some sort of director, whatever, and they've got the skills to apply for it. They may not know that or realise that, or they may think, oh, I could never go for that. Could you explain these to them? Make it fair for everyone. Explain the opportunities to every single person. I'm not saying just explain it to autistic people. It's everyone. But yeah, autistic people. Again, it's a scale. I do know for a fact a lot of them wouldn't go for progression because it could be changing the role. They're worried about the change, or they don't think they've got the skills and they're too anxious. There's lots of different reasons for that. So yeah, just think about that one. Next bit. A lot of people I know sort of like using strengths-based approach. So, if they possess many strengths, but they've also got weaknesses or flaws or struggles, whatever, why can't you work on the strengths? If like in football clubs, for example, they might have a dedicated, depending on the club, they might have a dedicated goalkeeper coach, for example. So that person, that's their skill set. They might not be necessarily as good at coaching, the rest of the team, or they might prefer one-to-one coaching. A lot of autistic people would be good one-to-one coaches, because of the attention to detail as well. They can work with an individual and improve them, look at areas they can improve themselves. They've not got the anxiety as much of performing in front of a group. So, again, some autistic people would love doing group training because there's lots of different elements to that. But yeah, just focus on the strengths if you can. And this is for anyone really. It's not just autistic people. Again, it's anyone. There's a lot said about you have to improve every weakness you've got, which I get to a certain degree, but there's some things you're just not good at, and some things you just are. So you might as well focus on the ones you are. Next bit. Sensory factors and the environment that they're in. So we've said it numerous times: lights, noises, smells. Ask them what bothers them. Can they move working spaces? Again, if you're in an office environment or whatever it is, if they're outside, they can still move spaces. So if you're a coach, maybe a training session and there's all the parents are there, or watching, and you could be performing the session right in front of the parents. Can you actually move? Can you move so that you're away from the parents a bit? Not so that they can't see, but just a little bit, just to alleviate the anxiety. I used to do it when I was coaching. I'd set up the cones a bit further away, not so that obviously parents can't see, obviously, but there are ways around that. If you've got multiple coaches doing different drills, the ones who aren't bothered don't care about performing as such in front of us because they're just focusing on the job. They don't get distracted. Could they be the ones who are doing it in front of the people? I don't know. There are ways around it. I used to do it myself. And again, depends what role you're in, what environment. If you're playing in front of a massive crowd, you can't just get the crowd to move or whatever. So you've got to be realistic with it again. But yeah, I mean, when I used to play 11-a-side, not big crowds or anything like that, but it could have been 10 people, 100 people, or 10,000 people. It could be the same in some senses. I'd play on the opposite side. Say if I played centre half, I'd play right side centre half one half and left side the other, which obviously is not advisable because it's like you're changing system. It's like, so yeah, I wouldn't necessarily advise that. I got away with it and no one noticed. I don't know how. I just switched at half time just so I'm a bit further away from people watching and whatnot. And I played better because of it. The person I played next to didn't bother them. If it would have done, I wouldn't have done it. But they said, yeah, I don't care. So yeah, there are ways around it. It's not easy. Again, it's not easy, so I fully get that. Next bit, please. And just on that previous point, yeah, because you may get kids who have this similar sort of struggles. So whether it doesn't have to be football, could be rugby, other team sports like that, netball, hockey, whatever. These sort of things may bother them, and it's sort of looking how you can adapt if possible. I mean, if the right winger in football, and that's all they can do, they can't play on the left wing, for example, then obviously you can't do that because then the performance is going to be affected, etc. Becoming overwhelmed or overloaded, look at what's causing it. Actually ask them. That's the best place to start. And again, can you adapt for them? Next bit. Other colleagues, teammates, coaches, whatever, managers, they may not understand autism. As a result of that, some people may get bullied or teased, taking the mick out of that sort of thing. On the opposite end of it, they may be sort of jealous of the talents they possess, and try and sort of socially get rid of them, manufacture a way to try and get rid of them. So there's those things that can happen as well. Is there anything on any of those points you want to add?
No, so they're all good valid points, aren't they? Especially in the sporting area as well. Yeah. So with the bullying as well. Yeah, you can get it in like all walks of life, can't you? Someone who's a little bit different, they tend to sort of stand out, and that person goes into the shell sort of thing. Yeah. Of course, especially if they're really good, say computing or football, whatever. They can own in on like the disability because they are jealous, sort of thing. Yeah. It's all good, but yeah. I'm just reading it now. Yeah, some good points there, buddy.
Okay. Next slide. Oh no, it's not. We've ended. Did that last time. We've gone slightly over today, so if anyone were expecting an hour, I do apologise, because obviously it's alright me preaching about autism, about timing and stuff, and then we've gone over. So, yeah, I mean, you can watch it in the replay as well, to be fair, so that's my get out clause for that one. You can watch it whenever you want. Yeah, just before we go, we'll get final words from myself and John. So tomorrow, what day is tomorrow? Wednesday. So tomorrow is 4 o'clock. If you're joining us live, so that's 4 o'clock. So change the time for tomorrow. Please make a note of that. So that's 4 o'clock instead of today, 10 o'clock. We'll be looking, as the week progresses, we'll be looking at other neurodiverse conditions, ADHD, etc., mental health as well, and how that impacts people as well. Let's thank everyone for watching today, whether it's live or later on. Yeah, any final words from yourself, John?
No, just some good points there to be took on. Like I say, I'm learning every day as well. I suppose you are as well. But yeah, some good points there, Race, for the employer to have a look at, and whether they can change stuff, we don't know. But it's just, even if it's a small detail, it might help. So yeah, just have a good day, really, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Right, brilliant. Right, well,